From the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is Ag Day.
Dealing with the derecho. How a nearby farm stepped up to help one dairy with hundreds of cows in need of milking. Wild for wheat.
The leaders of the world are very worried about feeding their own people. So
Wheat prices soar following a big announcement from the world's second biggest wheat grower. And are we making progress when it comes to planting?
I'm Michelle Rook. Farmers try to play catch up on planting here in the Western Corn Belt.
The latest numbers right now on Ag Day. Good morning, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Drier, warmer weather is finally starting to push planting forward. USDA reporting in the latest crop progress report that 49% of the corn crop is now planted. That's 27% ahead of last week, but still 18% behind average. And checking out soybeans, now 30% planted. That's 18% higher than last week and now just 9% behind the 5-year average. One state we've been watching very closely, Iowa, where corn was only 14% planted as of May 9th. Normally, the state would be more than 60% planted. Ag Day's Michelle Rook talked with Iowa producers who have been very busy lately.
Clinton, planting progress is still behind normal here in states like Iowa, but last week's warmer temperatures did allow farmers to play catch up. In southwest Iowa, Kevin Ross was making up for lost time, and although it delayed him, he says the spring moisture will help with emergence.
We had great weather last week. A couple little showers rolled through. I know they, spotty stuff, but kind of normal this time of year. And the soil conditions around here are really, really good at the moment.
Ross planted his beans early, and although he's behind his normal planting window on corn, he's still optimistic about yield potential.
I feel like we're still at full potential around here. I don't think that we've lost anything from that aspect yet. You can plant corn here till probably May 20th and still feel pretty good about that.
Meanwhile, farmers in northwest Iowa are also catching up after being frustrated with the slow pace and having to dodge rainstorms.
Most years we'd be easily done with corn, a long ways on beans, and now we're probably 50-60%, maybe not even quite that.
We haven't had a great deal of rain. It's just been enough to slow us down, and the little bit we get, and then we get 2 days of really cloudy, humid weather, and nothing dries out.
Moss was done planting by this time last year, and because Mother Nature's been uncooperative, he decided to plant beans first.
Some local plot data kind of lends toward earlier planting of beans. It worked out really well last year, so we thought we'd try it again.
Dean Meyer farms in the Rock Rapids area, and while the rain has slowed him down, he's thankful for the moisture, as last year he planted in dust.
Subsoil moisture before we began planting was 8/10 of the profile was full, and compared to last year I think it was 2/10, so subsoil moisture is in way better shape than it was last year. At this time, we've got more to feed on if we don't get moisture in the heat of the summer.
He says he's planting a few more acres of corn than he intended this year with the good moisture conditions and the price ratio of corn to beans.
We end up planting a few more corn acres than what we were originally tending to. The economics tells us to.
And despite delays, farmers in northwest Iowa are holding out hope for a good crop and say it's needed this year more than ever.
We need a big crop this year to fill in the cracks that we're left with the tight carryout and the Ukraine thing and yada yada, and the whole wheat story, of course. So you're right, there is real pressure on the market that we have to have a big crop.
In Iowa, I'm Michelle Rook reporting for Ag Day.
All right, thank you, Michelle. Another big story we're following, a major announcement out of India when it comes to wheat exports. The country announcing it is mostly prohibiting exports, saying the nation's food security is under threat. India is the world's second biggest wheat grower. The country's government saying it would still allow exports for which letters of credit have already been issued, and that it would consider sales to countries looking to meet food security needs. Now, the news pushing futures dramatically higher on Monday.
the world is counting on them to export roughly 8.5 million metric tons of wheat. They've so far shipped somewhere between 2.5 million. So now that they're not in the marketplace, plain and simple, roughly 5 million metric tons of wheat, if they do not come back out into the export market, the world has got to find a different supplier. And the reality with the war going on in the Ukraine, losing the Ukraine wheat exports already, it's already making a very tight situation before the exit of the Indian market exporters, an even tighter situation.
Reuters reporting India's wheat crop was damaged during the country's hottest March on record. and that caused yields to potentially drop by as much as 50% in some areas of the country. Happening right now, Ag Secretary Tom Vilsack in Poland meeting with G7 ag leaders about Russia's invasion of Ukraine. The country's talking about food security and sustainability in agriculture. Vilsack tweeting, quote, "We know Russia is using hunger as a tool in their unjust war with Ukraine. They are stealing the grain produced by courageous Ukrainian farmers that people in many countries around the world rely on to feed their families. We condemn these actions in the strongest terms," end quote. The secretary also saying Poland has opened not just its doors but its homes to those fleeing Ukraine, saying the world owes them our thanks. Drought has been the story here in the U.S. when it comes to wheat. Now, many producers impacted by drought and wildfire are getting some relief. USDA saying commodity and specialty crop producers impacted by natural disasters last year and the year before will soon be getting emergency relief payments totaling $6 billion through WIP Plus. It estimates the first phase of payments will reach more than 220,000 producers. That first phase will cover losses to crops, trees, bushes, and vines. More information is available on the Emergency Relief Program website. We're only in the middle of May, and already temperatures in some places are expected to be in the triple digits. Meteorologist Matt Yarosavik joins us with more. Matt?
Yeah, that's right, Clinton, and those warm temperatures are going to continue, but let's first take a look at the fire weather outlook for today. Again, back in parts of Texas and also into parts of New Mexico. This is where that fire danger is elevated. The winds, along with those drier conditions, are really going to elevate that fire danger. It will be in the critical category there for San Angelo, up towards near Lubbock, and even Amarillo as well. So that's something you want to kind of keep in mind as we head through today. Here's a look at the temperatures, though, over the next couple of hours into the afternoon, where parts of Texas, from Amarillo down towards San Antonio, even towards Brownsville into West Texas, that's where we're going to be seeing those triple digits popping up, with 80s and 90s more humid air out across the Gulf Coast states, even into the 80s, feeling closer to near those triple digits with all of that humidity. It'll be a dry heat, though, back towards the west. And you can see jet stream well up to the north. That's going to keep those hot temperatures locked in over the next few days down across the south. And a place like Abilene, Texas, 103 for the high today, topping out in the mid triple digits for tomorrow. Only back down below that 100-degree mark as we head through Friday. Sunny skies, very hot in parts of Texas. And those warmer and drier conditions helping our neighboring farmers to the north as well. Arthur Ward of Saskatchewan, Canada, sharing this spectacular sunset. Certainly lots of work going on right now. I'll have more on your forecast coming up.
Keeping you updated on the nationwide shortage of baby formula right now, President Biden is offering formula manufacturers and retailers transportation and logistics support to ease the problem. Now, it comes as the administration works to bring the largest domestic plant back online after it was shut down earlier this year due to safety issues. The White House says it is working with all major formula producers to boost production. That includes reaching out to their suppliers to encourage them to prioritize production and delivery of formula ingredients. It's also been reported the White House is considering invoking the Defense Production Act to try to ease the pressure, though it is seen as a longer-term, not an immediate solution. All right, coming up, we'll talk about the disconnect in the cattle markets. That's next. And later, the impact of the derecho on one dairy farm in South Dakota and the help that is poured in.
Find farm equipment on Machinery Pete's May 17th online auction. No reserve, no buyer fees. Start bidding now at auctions.machinerypete.com.
Inflation may be with us for a few years. That's the latest assessment from market watchers at the American Farm Bureau Federation. Now, it says its economists analyzed the inflation numbers in the latest market intel, and they expect inflation to stay above 5 or 6% for the foreseeable future. Now, they say too much money was created by the Federal Reserve Bank, mostly in 2020, and while they say the Fed has started taking steps to address it, it will likely take a few years to approach the long-term target of 2% per year. Cattle prices were mixed on Monday. Ag Day's Michelle Rook joins us once again with more on the latest trends in that market.
Brad Coyma is joining us with today's market analysis. Brad, let's talk about the cattle market because we've had kind of a disconnect with this strong cash versus futures going the opposite direction. So talk a little bit about why that's happening.
Yeah, well, we certainly have had a big disconnect. And some of it's, I think, because of where we're at, what we perceive to be supply side wise, what's coming. In other words, we think there's more cattle coming. And there probably is, right? That's normal. Seasonally, there's more calves, the northern feeding cycle, right? So you've got a discount structure a little bit, but this one is crazy. You know, I mean, where last week I get $145 for cash cattle and June's are at $132, a $13 basis is crazy. Some of the problem is an inherent problem that's starting to develop with our futures market, and that is that we just seem to can't attract a long speculator.
So the funds are scared. They don't want to be in there because of the economy or what?
I think that the funds don't, yes, I think that that's a big part of it. The cattle market, you know, if you're at SeaWorld and you want to sit in the front row in the splash zone, put the cattle market right there. Anything that seems to be unnerving or scary or uncertainty is always bearish the cattle, because it seems like you've got a fund community that says, you know what, if we go into recession or if we have a deal where people have a question with what they're going to do with their what's the right word I want to use here, their optional spending. I'm not saying this right, but
discretionary.
You know, thank you. Discretionary spending. You know, are they going to spend it on a perceived to be a high-priced beef product? They also, I think, are afraid that when you have uncertainty about the economy, general recession worries, and all that other stuff, you know, that moves that fund manager to another commodity. Also, these funds have been distracted by this super sensitive inflation commodities like corn, like crude oil, like some of those, you know, so they've focused on those markets at the expense of not really doing anything with the cattle. And you can see the last little while it's just been fund liquidation like crazy. Our open interest is down around 300,000, which is a joke compared to the old days. The funds just don't seem to like our market right now.
All right, well, we thank you for that analysis today. Brad Coyma joining us, and more Ag Day in a moment.
It's time to sign up for the 2022 United Pork Americas Conference in Orlando, Florida. Register today at unitedporkamericas.com and join us September 7th through the 9th.
Meteorologist Matt Yurosavik joining us here. Matt, as we look at severe weather risk, it's right there through the Central Plains, and you know, obviously people wanting to get out in fields, but you got to keep an eye out.
Yeah, you're going to have to keep an eye to the sky. All of those heavier showers and thunderstorms developing, especially through the afternoon and evening, and more as we head through the rest of the week as well. And you can see most of that severe weather threat coming through parts of Kansas, up into Nebraska, even just back towards Denver, seeing the chance for some storms as we head through today, and then spreading eastward towards St. Louis as we head farther into the day. But if we look at the next day, heading into Wednesday, we've got that chance for severe storms from the Rockies all the way through Wichita, St. Louis, and into parts of Kentucky. So a very wide area, not as strong storms, but more widespread across a front that's moving eastward. And this is what this looks like as we head through the next couple of days. You've got the dry line back into parts of Texas where could see a few showers or storms pop up off of that. But this is the system here, which is going to be bringing that chance for a few stronger storms out ahead of it between that cold front and the warm front to the east. And as it continues to move, you can see there's that chance for those stronger storms, and the low continuing to move eastward as we head through Wednesday. And then that severe storm threat is right along these fronts from the Rockies all the way through to parts of Kentucky as we head through the evening on Wednesday. So a very stretched out version of that severe weather risk, with more coming as we head towards the rest of the week, and we'll keep an eye on that here on Ag Day. There's a look at the precipitation right along that front, going to see most of it with more showers and storms to the north. Not much going on across the south, staying very hot and dry. There's a look at the temperatures this afternoon. Parts of Texas dealing with the triple digits with regards to the heat. And then we are going to be watching for the temperatures cooling off, but staying very muggy down here in the south. We are going to be watching, though, more triple digit heat and triple digit heat indexes across the Gulf Coast as well. And here's a look at the jet stream. Very warm air staying locked in there in the south. And that's going to continue as we head through this week. staying unsettled up to the north as well. That's a look around the country. Now let's take a look at the weather where you live. Canton, Ohio, sunny and cooler, a high of 66 degrees. Heading to Grove, Oklahoma, partly sunny and a chance of storms, a high of 82 degrees. And Tucson, Arizona, sunny and hot, a high of 99.
The Dairy Report on Ag Day is brought to you by Boehringer Ingelheim, because cattle first is a remark only made remarkable by you, producers and veterinarians across the country.
It wasn't just grain farms impacted by last week's derecho. Take a look at what happened at a South Dakota dairy operation. What you just witnessed was a roof being ripped off one of the milking facilities at Global Dairy in Esteline. It's home to more than 2,800 cows, and one of 2 milking parlors took a direct hit from the storm. But the story of what happened after the storm is just as important. Semis lined up to bring hundreds of cattle from the dairy to Victory Farms 1 hour north of Esteline. Kevin Souza speaking with Karen Bonner of Farm Journal's Dairy Herd Management about the logistics behind moving all those cows.
When we decided for sure it was going to happen, we got together our guys and we had heifers in the barn. So we got the heifers moved out, got a hold of the milk equipment guys, and they were out getting her ready to go. And I think the first, I'm not really sure on time, but I think the first load of cows within about 3 hours to the time I talked to them, they started arriving.
Kevin says 40 loads of cows were brought to his farm with 20 semis doing the hauling. Ag Secretary Tom Vilsack is not happy with Canada's latest plan to fix its quota system for U.S. dairy, but the country appears to be pushing ahead with the changes anyway. Now, those changes come after an international dispute resolution panel concluded that Canada's old system violated the U.S.-Mexico-Canada agreement. That decision is forcing Canada to come up with a new allocation method for its tariff rate quota in order to let more U.S. dairy into the country. In response, Canada proposed giving out quota based on market share instead, which it believed would comply with the panel's findings. But U.S. dairy organizations, including the International Dairy Foods Association, called that plan a non-starter, saying it would provide an unfair advantage to dairy processors in Canada. A second plan has now been submitted. USDA Secretary Tom Vilsack saying in an interview over the weekend, he has told Canada's Ag Minister the latest proposal is, quote, an unacceptable response under the USMCA. Now, the National Milk Producers Federation calling on the U.S. to levy retaliatory tariffs on Canada in response. All right, well, 4-H is full of lots of great projects for kids. Up next, Louisiana kids getting their shot at a national shooting sport title. We have details in the country. Nearly 1,000 Louisiana 4-Hers competed in a variety of shooting sports with a chance not only to be a state champion, but to claim a berth in the national championship later this summer. LSU Ag Center correspondent Craig Gautreaux takes us to the competition.
In Louisiana, the 4-H shooting sports program is full of fun, family, and competition. Approximately 1,000 4-Hers were on hand for the chance to be crowned state champion with an opportunity to win a national title next month in Nebraska. An area of emphasis at the match was safety.
Our kids need a little guidance, especially in gun safety. They also need to do it where they enjoy it and don't hate it. You see too many gun accidents, way too many. You hardly ever see any with 4-H shooters.
Riley Russo was part of the national championship team from Louisiana that won last year. She traded in her muzzleloader and is now competing in air pistol and small bore pistol. She enjoys many aspects of shooting sports, especially the competition.
I'm a competitive person, so the competition is just like a major bonus. I think I would still do it without the competition, but it's just, I like to compete.
Russo says the program has made her a better person, which is one of its goals.
It's not just, shooting a shotgun or shooting a bow and arrow. It's about life skills and future endeavors and preparing these kids for real life situations and being contributing members of their community.
The Louisiana team is seeking to win the national championship for the third consecutive time, and Russo hopes to play a key role in defending the title.
To be there with that was just a once-in-a-lifetime thing. Well, I'm going to try to make it a twice-in-a-lifetime this summer because I made it again.
With the LSU Ag Center, this is Craig Ocho reporting.
All right, thanks, Craig. And that's all of our time this morning. Sure glad you tuned in. From all of us here at Ag Day, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Have a great day in Farm.